Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The signing of the partial scope trade agreement between Trinidad and Tobago and Panama. Economic zones are to become more developed in Trinidad and Tobago. And Caroni Green Initiative already showing positive returns. Thank you for joining us to our top story. The signing of the partial scope trade agreement between Trinidad and Tobago and Panama is expected to herald economic benefits for both countries. Both heads of government signed on to the bilateral agreement on Thursday as Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar visited the Central American state for the Americas Competitiveness Forum this week.
The signing of the partial scope trade agreement between Trinidad and Tobago and Panama will provide preferential treatment for exporters from Trinidad and Tobago. It's expected that through this, businessmen will benefit from the Panamanian market and the reciprocal preferential treatment that Panamanian exporters will receive within the Trinidad and Tobago market. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, together with Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Dukran, completed the agreement through talks on Thursday during their visit to the Central American state. Talks have been ongoing since January 2011 and required approvals from the TNT Cabinet and subsequently certified by the CARICOM Secretariat after receiving agreement from all CARICOM member states. From this, Trinidad and Tobago receives immediate tariff elimination in a number of important manufactured products and also tariff reduction in a number of other areas. Panama, on the other hand, will receive 40% of the tariff lines negotiated and will receive a 100% preferential rate. Some of the products that will be benefited from the said rate are live animals for breeding, fresh and chilled meat, fresh and chilled fish, eggs, wheat, salt, pepper, among others. The agreement strengthens the existing trade relationship between the two countries, as it will afford further market diversification and penetration for both the local, public and private sector. The bilateral agenda between both countries is being expanded as there are a number of draft agreements under consideration by the governments of the two nations. These agreements include draft bilateral investment treaty, draft agreement on cooperation in tourism, draft agreement on labor, draft agreement on scientific and technical cooperation, and the draft agreement on cooperation in the area of sport. Stimulating cooperation between ministries of foreign affairs on an academic level was also proposed, as well as educational cultural cooperation. These agreements have been founded on active political, economic, trade and cultural dialogue and the substructure upon which the two countries maintain diplomatic ties. Trade between the two nations has seen imports from Panama in 2009 totaled at over $51 million, and exports to Panama amounted to $317 million in 2009. Trinidad and Tobago formalized diplomatic links with Panama in May 2010 via the resident ambassadors of both countries in Washington, D.C. The establishment of official relations put the seal on the existing cultural connection between the two countries forged through the migration of Trinidad and Tobago nationals to Panama in search of work during the era of the building of the Panama Canal. Kimberam Kalawan, News 4.
Economic zones are to become more developed in Trinidad and Tobago, so says Minister of Trade, Industry and Development, the Honorable Vasan Barath. The minister says that was a matter that was brought about during the national budget debate, and Cabinet has taken a decision for the rollout and construction of 6 business parks across the country.
Many of you may know that ETEC is currently the owner-manager of 19 industrial parks across the country, which incorporates some 300 client firms. That space of that spans the 19 parks has really outlived its purpose, and we have no accommodation for new businesses as we speak.
The minister said a recent study has shown that as far as domestic use is concerned, there is a demand for 135,000 square meters of built space for industrial parks.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago had a rollout of these 6 parks over the next 5 years, but based on the visit of the Chinese president to Trinidad and Tobago and the commitment to concessional funds for the CARICOM region of $3 billion. Trinidad and Tobago, through the Ministry of Trade, has determined that we will speed up the delivery of those parks.
Minister Vasant Bharath says this project will be undertaken in conjunction with a Chinese firm who is yet to be selected by ETEC.
The 6 economic zones that have been identified for development are Connector Road, Dow Village, Frederick Settlement, Presal and Reform. And the intention is that all of those parks will be completed by December of 2014, which is clearly a very short time frame to get this up and running.
He noted that works will begin as soon as the contractor is identified. He further said that this will bring into play a total of 755 acreage of space and a total of 485 acres of actual built accommodation. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back, the University of the West Indies Research Expo. Stay with us. The University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, is showcasing the many developments it has made in terms of research and has conceptualized the UWI Research Expo to do just that.
The University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus launched its 4-day-long Research Expo 2013, which boasts of a wide range of exhibits, a symposium, mini-workshops, mini-concert, marketplace and a children's fun park to display the multifaceted talents and research projects of staff and students from varying fields and disciplines. The expo began on October 1st and is free and open to the public, also offering scientific displays, special tours, film screenings, book readings and many more educational and fun-filled activities. On Tuesday, the Symposium on Research, Enterprise and Impact was held at the LRC auditorium of the campus, which put the entire expo into perspective and highlighted the challenges and achievements surrounding research at UWI. Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal at the campus, Professor Clement Sankat, boasted that UWI was successful in producing just over 8 publications for every US $100,000, which is 8 times that of the United States output. He, however, stressed that the 0.13% of GDP given to research was not good enough and referred to the value of the UWI Trinidad and Tobago Research and Development Impact Fund.
A $7 million TT grant will be hard-pressed to buy some decent pieces of equipment for the Faculty of Medical Sciences, or for engineering for that matter. That's what it takes to do good quality, high quality research. And to become a world-beating university that we want to be, and we are committed to making that happen at the UWI. A world-beating university in a very competitive environment.
In 2011, UWI St. Augustine, along with the government, identified 6 priority research areas. These are climate change and environmental issues, crime, violence and citizen security, economic diversification and sector competitiveness, finance and entrepreneurship, public health, and technology and society.
The adoption of these priority research areas signaled a shift towards defining a more focused and competitive approach and a more rigorous framework for the monitoring and execution of research projects.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Angela Sinaswi-Gervais, stressed the importance of impactful research co-creation and strong industry-university research relationships that can only redound to the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
The level of engagement between the private sector of Trinidad and Tobago and the University of the West Indies needs to be amplified with respect to research and commercialization of such research. The raised profile of the private sector in research will not mean a shrinking of the developmental role played by the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Permanent Secretary endorsed the Research Week, which she says is the key vehicle in bridging the communication gap between the research activities of the university and the wider public. She says too often research is left to collect dust or hidden from the man in the street, the taxpayer, and even fellow researchers. The Permanent Secretary encouraged the university to build upon the Research Week and leverage upon it to engage in collaboration with other institutions within the sector. For a list of activities and more information on the Research Week, visit the campus's website at www.sta.ue.edu. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
In other news, the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, has launched a new app making it easier for the media and the average citizen to access accurate information on disasters in Tobago as they happen. The app, which was a vision of the agency's director, Alan Stewart, is called Virtual Vision and is the first of its kind to be introduced in Trinidad and Tobago.
Virtual Vision is a real-time hazard, information gathering, reporting and notification platform which is to be used in times of catastrophe in Tobago. It leverages modern communication technology and it keeps the public and all other emergency response agencies on the island as well as the stakeholders informed of what is happening in real time. The Virtual Vision app, which was commissioned by TEMA and developed by the Distributed Systems Limited, has been driven by the need to increase the efficiency of the reporting process by reducing the need to report by phone or in person. It empowers the public to be proactive in their communities since they will be more aware of what is happening. Virtual Vision also provides its users with real-time pictures and videos. Director of TEMA, Alan Stewart, while speaking at the launch, said there were some gaps in the emergency response system, one of which is reporting to Tobago what exactly is happening.
Well, Virtual Vision, to me, it's another pioneering step that the Tobago House of Assembly have enabled TEMA to champion on behalf of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. This is a first step in the direction whereby we can now bring real-time information to end users, from any man in the street, anybody in the street level, to the highest office in the land.
He continued that the launch was only the first phase of the whole project, which will see a vigorous campaign in the first quarter of the new financial year. Member of the Distributed Systems Limited Group, Kurt Gard, spoke on their role in this entire project.
So DSL's role was we were commissioned to actually build this application. So it is not to serve as a replacement for anything that they already have. It's to serve as an addition, like a modification. Think of it like sitting on top of whatever they have and being fed by whatever they have, in addition to being fed now with the mobile device portion of the platform.
Dr. Alice Boris, Chief Administrator in the THA, gave TEMA the assurance that the THA will continue to work steadfastly with TEMA and other stakeholders to ensure the most efficient service is delivered.
TEMA has been taken to another level, and at that level, we can deliver better service to the people of Tobago, and our stakeholders will be all and fully aware of what is happening in every nook and cranny.
The app can be used on smartphones, including the Android phones, iPhones or iPads, and the BlackBerry. Director Alan Stewart said the total cost of the project was $200,000 and added its value is much more, as many lives can be saved through Virtual Vision. Reporting from Tobago, Patricia Nicholson, News 4.
When we come back with Sport Report, stay with us. $5 million has been allocated to ensure this country's national athletes are able to represent us at several international meets throughout the next year. This assurance comes from the Minister of Sport, the Honorable Anil Roberts.
Over the last 3 years, the People's Partnership Government has spent some $176,672,951 on national sporting organizations, community development, community sports across Trinidad and Tobago.
The financial support for sporting bodies and national athletes will continue, as has been the trend during Minister Roberts' tenure as Minister of Sport. He gives this commitment and says proof of this is the increase this year in the funding awarded to elite athletes.
This year, 2013, our government spent $65 million on our athletes. This includes our elite athletes, where $8 million was spent on 53 elite athletes from the following sports: track and field, cycling, swimming, sailing, shooting, drag racing, gymnastics, squash, tennis, and javelin throw.
Minister Roberts also reveals that Cabinet has approved an unprecedented sum to finance the Trinidad and Tobago's Olympic Committee to ensure this country's participation in 3 major sporting competitions next year.
For the Central American and Caribbean CAC Games to be held in Veracruz, Mexico from November 14th to 30th, 2014. For the International Olympic Committee IOC Youth Olympic Games to be held in Nanjing, China from August 16th to 28th, 2014. And to the Commonwealth Games for Trinidad and Tobago to represent our athletes, to represent us at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland from July 23rd to August 3rd, 2014. The Cabinet has approved the total sum of $5 million.
The Sport Minister reiterates the financial support given to the development of sport will not cease, as it considers sport to be key to the development of youth in Trinidad and Tobago.
Government shall continue to support our athletes before they get success. Based on development, 60% of an increased budgetary allocation shall be spent on development across the board in 41 sports, and the elite athletes will get support individually and as a team. And the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will receive and continue to receive greater financial support than ever in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Large businesses across Trinidad and Tobago will soon be purchasing fresh produce locally in large amounts through the Caroni Green Initiative, which is already showing positive returns.
The Caroni Green Initiative is bearing fruit, or rather a variety of crops, benefiting former Caroni workers, farmers, business owners, and even the man in the street. On Tuesday, the second harvest of the first phase of the initiative was launched at Waterloo Road, Orange Valley. The first was launched on Saturday, August 10th, at the same site where 2,000 bundles of patchoy were harvested.
Cabinet approved this project in March of this year. We started cultivation in June because we had severe weather and land preparation was difficult. And so we started land preparation and cultivation in June, and we are here today in October the 1st to celebrate 200,000 pounds of produce we have harvested.
Former Caroni workers who have received 2-acre plots of land are receiving a rent from farmers who, through this initiative, are cultivating the said plots and selling the produce using a shared value business model agreement with Caroni 1975 Limited. Minister of Food Production, Senator the Honourable Devan Maharaj, spoke of the economic benefits that have been accrued since 2010.
The result of this we have seen of this initiative as well as other initiatives of the Ministry of Food Production is a growth in the agricultural sector by 5.1% in 2013 from the previous year. We have also seen a contribution to GDP increase by 77% and a 2% reduction in the food import bill from 2010 to 2013. And more importantly, we have seen a significant reduction in food inflation coming here on the news, I heard that food inflation, the latest figures, are now 7%. When we came into office in 2010, it was 29%.
The Honourable Minister stated that in the space of 2 years, the Caroni Green Initiative is projected to bring into production some 5,800 acres of land that was formerly idle and fallow, not only creating jobs, but also bringing Trinidad and Tobago closer to food security.
This is the phase 1 of the Caroni Green Initiative, and we are waiting phase 2, which will really begin in November of this year. This will involve the cultivation of additional crops, which would include pigeon peas, sorrel, pawpaw, root crops, plantain, and bananas on approximately 1,200 acres. Phase 3 is expected to begin in 2014 as early as possible, and it will increase cultivation by some 4,000 acres in green vegetable, root crop, and various legumes. And we'll be focusing on the various the demands of the local agro-processing industry, another area where NAMDEFCO is critical in supporting this initiative.
Minister Maraj dispelled claims that the rent being paid to those who hold the land leases are too low, saying that it is in fact the highest rent being paid for acreages of agricultural land in the country. Currently, there are 43 private farmers involved in the project, with over 200 applications by other farmers being processed for the rental of agricultural lands under the initiative. The Food Production Minister stated that within the following 2 weeks, he, along with the Minister of Land and Marine Affairs, the Honourable Jairam Simangal, would distribute at least 1,000 leases to former Caroni workers for 2-acre plots until the leases owed to the former workers by the government are exhausted. Caroni 1975 Limited's CEO said the farmers are currently not the most efficient farmers, but very shortly they would be able to challenge any importer bringing in fresh fruits and vegetables.
We don't want government to tell importers stop bringing in foodstuff. Bring in foodstuff. We could stand up to the challenge and we could beat them. We want to show them that we can produce fresh, healthy, and more tasty vegetables and food crops than what is being imported.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.